farming has always been presented as this thing where first it's for older people, number one, and then it's for like older men. And then it's very complex, and it's very, if you're not studying Kidogo, you can't be here. And then it can't be fun. It's presented as this thing as like, it's like always commercial. And then because it's perishable, it's stress. Once you harvest, where's the market? 2 years ago, I was a city girl, deep. Like, I did not know anything about manure. I didn't know anything. Colds affects your vegetables and all of these things. I did not know that. So many times people are like, with those nails, I'm like, I'm really in there. You can see one that's broken. When you're harvesting, they break. You move on with life. When I harvest my own vegetables, it's such a different experience than when I would buy them from supermarkets. So things like, I love carrots. So things like my carrots, they last longer in the house. There's a smell from when you harvest. Like someone can walk into my house and know what vegetable I've harvested. I've not started cooking it. I've not done anything. I've just brought it from the garden to the kitchen. And so I then remember being like, what was I eating before? Because it didn't smell like this. It didn't last like this. And then when we get into the cooking, it didn't taste like this. I find broccoli and cauliflower so easy to grow. And I just wonder why. Is it that people don't like them? But like, they're just so easy. Like, they're not demanding. And then even like in the hot season, because I've grown them in the hot season. Right now I'm growing them in the cold season to see the differences. In the hot season, when it's too hot, they even use their leaves to shade themselves. I'm like, I love independent people like you. Not these ones who are telling me frostbite. One of the issues I had was moles, which I'd only read about in storybooks. And then I was just like, so the guy who was telling me this is the problem you have was trying to find the Kiswahili word for mole. So he was telling it to me in Kiswahili and I'm just like, what the hell is that? Only to find out it's a mole. And we got a mole catcher and he's just a local guy. That's his job. And he's fully booked. Because when I called him, I had to wait 2 weeks because he was busy. He was booked and busy. And when he came, it was just so vile the way because I was just like, that thing is a living thing. Like, why are we killing it? And one of my neighbors who's also a farmer, he said, when you see the moles, they're even signaling to you that whatever you're growing under is probably ready. And so I said, wow, we look at them as pests.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Organic Guy Podcast. This is your home of organic conversations. I'm your host, the Organic Guy, and around here we have conversation around how we can make our food system really work for us rather than against us. Today we are very blessed and very grateful that we have a very special guest with us. You probably heard her voice, probably know her. She has been in the podcasting space for a long time, and of late she has been doing something really interesting in the farming space. So she'll help us really unpack her journey and what's been like really to go through that journey. So for me, it's a pleasure. She goes by the name of Adelle. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Thanks for having me and thanks for reaching out. This is really fun. Like, I'm excited to be in like a different space.
Yeah, I mean, in the podcasting world, at least, you're the OG, if I may use that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember the first time I started podcasting. So I think it was around 2020. So I was trying to get in the game. There was this guy called Gary V on Instagram. So he's like, hey, if you're listening to this, you're going to have to start a podcast. So I started looking around Kenya who was doing the podcasting thing, and your podcast actually popped up. So it's been really great that I've been seeing your journey, how you started. So I've been following it. So it's just an appreciation from me. Like, thank you for creating the path for us to do the podcasting thing.
I really appreciate that. Like, I take it. And it's such a dynamic space because when you say 2020, in 2020, I had been running or hosting our flagship podcast for 1 year. but it seems like the new media space is so dynamic. It grows exponentially, I think, because once you publish your show, the entire globe has access to it. You know what I mean? So you can grow so much faster than, let's say, legacy media that is limited even geographically, you know? So yeah, I really appreciate you giving me my flowers while I'm still alive.
Yeah, it's more of an appreciation. I mean, at that time you just left like the mainstream media, and you're starting a podcast. So I'm just trying to go into your mind, like, what did you see at that time in the podcasting space that made you like really interested into starting one?
I think I've always liked audio. So even when I talk about podcasts, it might be rebellion, but like I don't even consider video shows podcasts. And I think audio is so powerful. It's so intimate in such a wonderful way. Like, for example, in my house, I don't have a TV. I've never wanted a TV. Like, I'm not really attached. I do watch shows every so often and films every so often, but you will always hear a podcast playing in my house, just because I find I'm always intrigued by audio. And so I think going into podcasting was a lifeline, because when I was leaving traditional media, I didn't think I fitted in actually anymore. I didn't like the management structure. I didn't like the content format structure. The things that mattered to me when I got in when I was 20, I was leaving when I was 30. I didn't really give a damn about socialites. So like, I didn't even care about who has a new song, you know, and not from a condescending point of view, just from, I wanted more. You know what I mean? And so when I left and getting into podcasting, I was like, wow, I can still play around with this audio thing that I love and I've always loved. So I wasn't really, from the outside, it looks like I had a plan and like strategy. I did not have a plan. I was having fun, man. And I love creating and I love playing around with tools online and being like, oh my God, I've just created a show, you know? And so podcasting allowed me to do that.
I like the way you say like podcasting is more of an artistic thing. Like when you've recorded a podcast and you throw it out there, you're like, yes, I've created something new. So yeah, from that perspective, I can relate as well.
And you talk to your audience in an intimate way. I've been on radio. I would have to repeat things 100 times for my audience to know I'm saying, call this number, or this is a question I've asked you. Like I would repeat and repeat and repeat, because I guess with radio, people listen to it more like background. But with podcasts, people listen intentionally. They allow you into their personal space. You're with them when they're going on a walk. You're with them when they're driving. You're with them when they're in the matatu, secluded from all that's happening around them. You're with them in the gym. You know what I mean? You're with them when they have insomnia and they can't sleep. And I think that is just like so magical.
You just mentioned like in radio, you have to repeat stuff. So that's actually a strategy, because I hear it all the time when you're listening to radio. They're sort of repeating some stuff in the radio. So that's actually a strategy.
Because people are not listening. They're like, shut up. We want to hear the song.
Yeah, that's true. I've been in that space, especially in 5-6 years ago, when your favorite song is on, and then
Adele comes. And then if it's those old school, no shade to KBC, but like, you know, the old school, because I still really like, what is it called? Sundowner. That's a wonderful show. It's incredible. But like, you know how you're listening to your favorite song and the presenter is like, na 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 na, and then your song, na 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 na. It's terrible because you're trying to sing along.
So it's an interesting space. Right now, things look like, you know, they're working out, but take us through like in the early phase, like how long did it take you for it to make sense to say, you know what, I think this podcast thing might work?
On a content level, I feel like by episode 8, 9, I knew I wanted to tell more African stories. That's with our flagship podcast. And so I knew I like this. I wasn't really, because I had my savings, luckily. And so I wasn't really thinking, you have to make money right now. I was just like, I want to enjoy. Because when I got into communications, it's because I had a passion for it, right? And so my last years of being a radio presenter, that was being eaten away. So like when I got into podcasting and on a content platform, I started enjoying it, and I started feeling like, wow, I love telling stories and I love hearing stories. People say they don't like small talk. I love small talk, like because I'm curious about people naturally. And so on a content level, I feel like by episode 8, 9, I was already like, oh, this is what's going to happen. And features that I created back then are still there. Like 100 African Stories is a feature that runs on one of our shows. It's still there to date. Like that's where the stories sit. And I conceptualized it in episode 7 or 8 there, right? In terms of sustainability on a content phase, that's where it started. But sustainability and finances, it started making money in like episode 40 something, closer to 50. So that's like a good year of just putting out episodes, because it's a weekly show. So I wasn't too strained, but when I realized when pitching that it has value, then I started being intentional when I go into rooms and being like, forget working with me. There's this show I have that is pretty bomb. And I started trying to figure out how to draw in advertising, because at the time we didn't really have dynamic ads like we do now. So I started looking at advertising and syndication as revenue models to make it sustainable. I think where we're at now, because it's 6-7 years in, is we are a new media network, and I want to produce dope African stuff, right? And so we have Legally Clueless. We have on Wednesdays, like today we're recording this on a Wednesday, so I was producing in the morning, is the midweek teas, and I just rant about a topic. It's not ranting like, oh, I'm so angry. Sometimes I'm just like, I miss talking to you guys, man. Like, this is also my podcast. On Thursdays, we have For Mannerless Women that runs as an audio show and also video. And then on Fridays, we have Ask a Therapist that runs as an audio show. And so for me, it's to move it to a point where right now my headache is moving it from a business to business model to a business to the community I serve model. And that's the sustainability arc I'm trying to figure out right now.
Nice. It's reassuring, I guess, to hear that these things take time, because right now you're like, I saw a 250th podcast episode.
300 for Legally Clueless, we are 333.
So these things take time, and I think a lot of people also need to have that perspective as well. And if you look nowadays, there's a lot of podcasts coming up. I saw, was it a study, like 90% of the podcasts don't get to like second, third episode. It's a bad statistics, but it's the reality. What is the one mistake that you see a lot of people do when they are starting out a podcast?
Content. That's why I spoke about sustainability, because your idea could be a great idea. I'm not knocking it down, but maybe it's an idea not for for an entire podcast, but it's for like 2 shows. You know what I mean? But I feel like you're creatively inclined. So like when you're creating something, you're like, this is the best thing. This one. They're gonna love it. But when you have to sit down and analyze it in an unbiased way, and sometimes when you tear apart the content, then you realize like, this is gonna last me 1 year, or this is gonna last me 3 episodes, or this is gonna last me a while, and it'll allow me to evolve even as the host, because you don't wanna start a show and 3 months in, you're just like, I don't really care about this anymore. I don't care about this topic. So I think it's important to look at the content and not to mirror the shows that you're seeing too much. Especially unfortunately, as Africans, we get a lot of Western shows thrown our way, and they may be sustainable content models for a Western audience. Maybe if you are targeting a Nairobi audience, not even Kenya, right? A Nairobi audience, maybe then you need to tweak your content a bit differently. If you're targeting Kenya, you'll need to tweak it. If you're targeting East Africa, tweak it, right? And so I think the mistake people make, is that we don't break down our content, and then the content is not sustainable. If the content is not sustainable, we can't talk about, am I going to make money? Because like, from what product, right? And most podcasters it's one of the most questions I'm asked. In fact, I have never been asked about sustainable content. I am always asked about money, which I think is putting the cart before the horse, right? Yeah.
It's interesting because it's like when you're cooking, like they want to eat the meal first, even before like looking for the ingredients.
And I get it. It's scary. Starting something new is very scary. Even if you're going to start a business, you're just like, is it gonna give me some money? And you're not really asking, what is the production process of this bottle of jam, But I think you need to spend as much time there, because then it allows you to know you've got a good product and to even know how to pitch it.
How long did it take you for you to come with the name Legally Clueless?
A very short time.
Really?
Yeah, and honestly, it's not because I'm intelligent. I don't know the name, because I was like crying. Because I was so scared. I was leaving a breakfast show, and at the time, the breakfast show was like third most listened to show in Kenya, and we're an English urban station, so that's you're going up against people speaking Swahili. So leaving at that point, and you're leaving like this glamorous job that everybody's just like, oh, you must make. I don't know. People always think we were making millions, which I'm just like, I wish. Everybody thinks you're mad, right? And so leaving that to do a thing that now when you're explaining to people, they're like, what is that? Yeah, they're like, so now it's like radio, but it's online. Like, it's like on-demand radio. And guys are just like, okay. Yeah. So I was I'd renovated the spare room in my apartment at the time to be like my recording space, and my microphones had arrived. And I just was crying because I was just like, have I made a mistake? And I remember calling, my friend and like telling him about it. And he was just like, then tell people that, like, record what it is you have just told me. So honestly, like, I've never gone back to listen to episode 1 because I'm just like, my voice, you can just tell this chick has been crying. You know how your voice cracks? You're dehydrated. But I remember hanging up and just thinking, it should be okay for me to feel this way. Like, it seems like, as much as I'm terrified that everything is falling apart because it's something new, I'm also at the back of my head being like, but this seems like it's normal. Like, everybody else is acting like they know what they're doing, but like, do you? And so that's where the name came from. It's like, it's okay not to know. And to be very honest, that has been like my saving grace. Even right now, like starting new shows or like new businesses or whatever, I'm just like, no, in Ruto's economy. And you're just like, we are a year and a half to elections. Is this wise? But it's like, I don't know. And that's okay. I really don't know. I'm not going to front.
The other day I was just scrolling on Instagram. I think I talked to you about before we went in the air. So my Instagram feed is very heavy on agriculture stuff. And one of your videos actually popped up about giving us update about your beautiful garden and what's going on. So, I mean, what's the story behind it? Like, how did you get into gardening?
First, this is just so incredible. Like, when I was driving in for this particular interview, I was thinking to myself, wow, how incredible is life? It can shock you, because how am I going to do an interview about farming? If you told me that in maybe even 3 years ago, I would have been like, you are high. Actually 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I was a city girl, deep. Like, I did not know anything about manure. I didn't know anything. Colds affects your vegetables and all of these things. I did not know that. I bought my vegetables from, because I've never had a huge household, so I bought my vegetables from a supermarket. Like, I was just like, I'm not saving that much by going to the market. So like, I'll just go to a supermarket. So how anybody watching this, I just want you to take that. It's just like, if you're feeling like things can't turn around, don't underestimate life's capacity to shock you pleasantly, you know? And so 3 years ago, I left Nairobi and I moved to Limuru. And it was my first time. I've always loved, I was the proper Nairobian, like on the weekends, how people drive out to the tea farms. And literally that was me. And in fact, in 2019, I took a photo in a tea farm that's probably a 10-minute walking distance from where I stay. And I had no idea this was coming, right? And so, so when I moved out there, I moved to like, I think people have an idea of Limuru. When you hear Limuru, they think, oh, suburbs or whatever. I'm in the Shags side. Guys, I'm in the Shags side. Like, literally, my friend's grandparents are my neighbors. His Shags is like, I'm the neighbor. Okay? So I'm in the Shags side. And so everybody around me farms, because it is the way of life, and it is a farm town. If it's not tea, there's flowers. If it's not that, there's crop, right? There's dairy farming, there's poultry farm. Like, it's just, we are farmers. You go to the supermarket and it's so, where I go get my groceries, there's no vegetable section, because they would think you're mad. Like, why are you coming to the supermarket chain to buy? Like, are you lost? You know, first, why are you not growing them for yourself? Or why are you not going to the market that's across the road? Like, you know, and so moving there, my first neighbor, who's an incredible woman, her name is Mary. She's in her 60s. She's one of, you know, I consider her a friend and just a dear person. She started farming in her 60s and she learned on YouTube. And so she used to farm, and obviously, like, she would share whatever she's grown, and I would talk to her a lot because we just clicked. And she would tell me all the things she's tried making. Banana, she would grow bananas, and then maybe the harvest is too big, so she tried making banana wine and it didn't work. It became vinegar, and she's like, well, I guess we have vinegar, you know what I mean? And it was just so interesting watching her. And then I got the opportunity to start for myself. And I realized that farming has always been presented as this thing where first it's for older people, number one. And then it's for like older men. And then it's very complex. And, you know, it's very, if you're not studying Kidogo, you can't be here. And then it can't be fun. It's presented as this thing as like, it's like always commercial. And then because it's perishable, it's stress. Once you harvest, where's the market? And I'm not saying there's no side like that. There is. But it was never presented to me as something that I could be curious about until I met Mary. And so then I started growing my own things. And to be honest, I just grow things that maybe I like eating, or that I'm like, I want to see how it grows. And so that's how I would say not only started, that's how it is now, right? Like, I don't even know, I end up with I live alone. So I end up with too much food. I have a gardener who helps me 3 times a week. So I'm always telling him, James, hautaki kukula, like, so I'm just like, when we have this, we have too much, right? But that's how I started. And to be honest, it's incredible touching the earth and knowing the earth is feeding me. I think as humans, we think we're separate from nature. Like we're not part of nature. We are part of it. To the extent that before we started playing around with chemicals or whatever when it comes to farming, the earth seasons, things are in season because that's what we need, right? So you would have more oranges or whatever because it's assumed at that time, maybe because of the climate or whatever, you would need more vitamin C or you would need more. But we went and played around with it and messed that magic. But like, how incredible is that, you know? And so that's kind of like where I'm at with it.
I mean, just for 3 years, the garden looks absolutely...
The garden isn't 3 years. It's 1 year. I've lived there for 3 years, was not farming for 2 years because I was just like watching Mary. And then last year around August is when I was like, okay, where do we buy a djembe? Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine, like, during your like early childhood, were you ever exposed to farming in any way?
No. So in my shags, I come from Siaya. In my shags, I knew we farmed things. Like you stand outside the house and you're like, oh, there Kwara. So Kwara is grandfather. That's Kwara's coffee. Dana, which is grandmother, is growing rice down there. Come and see the mangoes or whatever. But it's never really like, in fact, I feel like I was more hands-on with like the cows because you'd be waking up, let's go and milk the cow, which I did once. And I was like, not for me. It's too intrusive. I don't know why we're touching cows like that. I don't want it. But I didn't have a hands-on experience, right? And so that I think is what's so exciting for me is just like, especially harvest time. You're just like, guys, it's a carrot. It's a potato. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could see the excitement when you were sharing, for example, what was it? Is it a tomato?
No, tomatoes. My tomatoes all died. So it was not, it must have been a bell pepper.
Yeah, I could see the excitement in the video. Like, guys, look, this is my first bell pepper. Okay.
And my first potato and my first carrot. The thing I will never plant again is peas. It's such a waste of space, time, energy.
How?
It's like once you have harvested, it looks like it's so much. Then you pop the peas out, and it's like, and I just all that for this, and I just said that was good for science, but we're never going back there. Yeah.
So, like, when you were starting, let's say a year ago, do you have like any expectation on what you will get from it?
I didn't have any expectations. I just hoped nothing would die, which my tomatoes didn't honor that. I didn't have an expectation. As I said, I'm a very curious person. So I went in with curiosity of like, I wonder, what did I first plant? I definitely first planted carrots and peas, as I've said, cauliflower and broccoli, maize, because I love boiled maize with tea, just hits. Huh? What else did I can't remember the other things. So I literally was curious to see these things that I love eating. Like, what's this process? To the extent that there are times, and potatoes, obviously, because I love potatoes. And so to the extent that the first batch of potatoes I planted, I would see, like, potatoes, obviously they're growing under the soil, but there's a point where it flowers and it gives off this beautiful purple flower. And I just would look at my garden and I'm like, oh, that is so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Until once I was like, hang on, how am I meant to know these things already? And luckily, a friend who's my electrician was there, John. And he said, actually, your potatoes could be ready because like the leaves are brown. So I said, Ebu, come and show me. And so, and my potatoes were like, I literally had to start harvesting at that moment. But I had spent weeks admiring the purple flowers, like, oh, they're so beautiful. So I didn't have expectations. I didn't have, I'm going to do this. And then when we harvest, we're going to do it. Now is when, I take some of my harvest to women's shelter. But I didn't have that plan. I was just like, hey guys, does anyone want cabbage? And so, and I want to, I'm working on certain structures, but I want to keep it that way for as long as possible, because again, I think it's such a gift. Like we're being given food. How incredible is that?
So the other thing I always wonder, like, because when people get into agriculture, they go into a rabbit hole. Like they wanna go like how is our food being grown, or like why are chemicals being used in our foods? So did you have such a moment where like you went all in, you're researching about stuff? Did you ever go through that phase?
So I wouldn't say researching, because I feel like I might just collapse from what I find. But what I did always find intriguing, and still do, is that when I harvest my own vegetables, it's such a different experience than when I would buy them from supermarkets. So things like, I love carrots. So things like my carrots, they last longer in the house. There's a smell from when you harvest. Like someone can walk into my house and know what vegetable I've harvested. I've not started cooking it. I've not done anything. I've just brought it from the garden to the kitchen. And so I then remember being like, what was I eating before? Because it didn't smell like this. It didn't last like this. And then when we get into the cooking, it didn't taste like this. There's a richness that I'm like, what the hell was I eating? And I think maybe the fear of finding that out has kept me from researching, because I lived, 3 years ago I was 33. So I lived 33, 34, 35 years of eating food that I couldn't track, right? Because even when you talk about organic markets, they're relatively new, right? And they're still very inaccessible, even if you see the locations of where they are. So I didn't go through that, but I've noticed I'm like very apprehensive about buying things from supermarkets, and even markets, because just because it's in the market doesn't mean it's organic, right? So even with my bell peppers, the house will smell of bell peppers for like 3 days if I've harvested them. And that time I've harvested like 3 or 4, right? Even my strawberries, the kitchen will smell like strawberry jam. I've not harvested. They're just blooming. So I'm always just like, how comes when we buy this other side? And it tastes better. So I've not gone down a rabbit hole, but because I've noticed, hey, I don't want to know what things I was actively putting in my body.
Yeah, now that we're here, so I don't just want to know what.
I don't want to know. We've started afresh. It's a new day.
Yeah, that's a good mindset to have, I guess.
What I am looking into is seeds now. I'm trying to be more intentional about where I get my seeds and knowing what has been done to them. And it's good to live in a farm town, because, for example, I want to plant garlic and ginger. And I was told, beware of the garlic that's already in the market, because a lot of it is not even from Kenya, right? And so if you want to really grow our garlic, call this old man who lives on this road and he has garlic and ginger. And I'm like, okay, and just trying to be more intentional about knowing where these things I'm growing are coming from. That's where I'm at.
How far do you want to take it? I mean, do you do you still want to remain small, or you see like, you have like a big vision ahead, like I want to have like a 10-acre farm?
Or not a 10-acre farm. Oh my God. Do you know how people understand how stressful it is? Like me, I'm just doing it out of curiosity. And there are days you wake up, oh, frostbite is getting the cabbage. I'm just like, what? See, you're in a cold area. So you just also protect yourself. Next thing, oh, the potatoes, the cold. Oh, there's this pest. Oh, there's this. It's stressful. So 10 acres, I think I would collapse, right? But luckily, I do have my partner and I. We have a plant business for like house plants or outdoor plants, and we are trying to see like what does it look like combining the two to be able to give people affordable options of vegetables. And I think it's also pretty fun. Like it's quirky. They were grown by me. Who's just trying out, and I want to share that joy. So we're looking at that. In terms of like living on a farm, I do actually believe the farm life is what is comfortable for me. There are things or ways that the city made me sick, even mentally, that the farm life cures. And I'm just like, wow, what was I doing living in? There are people who are made for the hustle and bustle of town. I'm not one of those people. And so I would love to live on a farm. I'm looking at beekeeping. That's something I've always wanted to do, not out of like a commercial thing, but because bees are going extinct and humans, we're just walking around like that's normal. And I'm just like, guys, this is like in China, there are places where they're doing manual cross-pollination. Hey, this is quite alarming. And so I want to go into beekeeping, and I'm also with another friend trying to look into what does goat keeping also, or goat, I don't want to call it farming because it sounds like animal trafficking. But like keeping of goats, I want to look at like what does that look like, and we're kind of running the numbers for that. So slowly, I'm kind of just finding myself like going deeper.
Yeah, but I can see your curiosity is actually taking you to like different places and making you ask different questions. So yeah, I mean, like the journey in front of you looks very exciting. I like the idea of giving other people as well, like the experience of, hey, come to the farm, just come check it out, have a look, and maybe this might be for you as well.
And it's healing. Working in the farm, getting your hands, like literally, it's part of psychology, grounding exercises. When they tell you take off your shoes and just step on the floor, they have to say floor because most of us are in the cities. But really, if you step on the soil, I've been in the hot season when there are no ants. I've been with my neighbor's kid, and we just took our shoes off, and we were just, I was happy I had extra hands to help me harvest, and we were just like touching and feeling the ground, and it just is so healing.
Do you usually go to the farm without boots and just walk on the farm just to have a feel?
In the hot season, I told you it's Limuru. Like currently, we're dying.
Oh, I thought it's us here in Nairobi. Limuru is even worse.
When I see people in Nairobi say, hey, this is, don't text your ex. This is that weather that you make mistakes. I'm just like, you guys have not. There was a couple of years ago, or the first year when I moved to Limuru, there was a night it was 7 degrees. I was just like, what do you mean one number? Like, where's the other number? 17, 27. Like, where is the other number? This past week, there's an evening it got to 11 degrees. I did, that thing, I don't want to do it in the microphone, but like in my living room, I have a fireplace, so I was very warm. And then obviously you have to come to your bedroom to sleep. When I walked into the bedroom, I did that, the thing we used to do as kids when it's cold. And I was like, what the hell? I'm going to die. And my neighbor even checked on me. Are you okay with this cold? I said, yes, but it's colder than previous years. Like, what is going on? And so now I go in like a hoodie and my jacket, and also you're in the fog, so the fog feels like drizzling. So I would have like a hoodie currently, like a hoodie, just so that I'm not getting so cold and so wet.
You mentioned earlier about like some of the challenges that you've gone through, maybe planting of tomatoes and they don't quite make it. What has the farming life taught you about maybe life or about farming in general?
I love that question because I'm currently trying to write about it. Patience. I am not a patient person, and it's such a anyone close to me must have felt frustrated with me in any sense in one point in time, because I'm so, I don't know, when people were lining up to get patients I was somewhere else. I didn't get it, but it's taught me something like my bell peppers. I would be so frustrated because everybody was graduating from the nursery bed into the big side. We're just sitting, we're not seeing signs of life. We have watered, we have given you the best manure. We're now just, in fact, I'm just like, did we really plant anything here? Or like, are we the ones who are confused? And then a couple of months later, they just started growing. And what I didn't know is that they will continually give me fruit. It's not like my cauliflower that gives me the bud and then it's done. These guys will continually give me fruit. And I just was like, I was cursing you out. Even 2 weeks, I'm like, I'm not seeing any small leaves. What's happening? Huh? And it's really just taught me patience because I'm looking from above down. I don't know what's happening under, right? And just because I don't see something happening doesn't mean it's not happening. And so it's like patience. It's really taught me patience. It's taught me how destructive humans are. And so I've been like more aware, like even in terms, it's even stopped me from trimming too much of like my hedges or the trees or whatever, at least so that the car can pass. I'm just like, well, that's a bit selfish, you know, because one of the issues I had was moles, which I'd only read about in storybooks. And then I was just like, so the guy who was telling me this is the problem you have was trying to find the Kiswahili word for mole. So he was telling it to me in Kiswahili and I'm just like, what the hell is that? Like, only to find out it's a mole. And we got a mole catcher and he's just a local guy. That's his job and he's fully booked. Because when I called him, I had to wait 2 weeks because he was busy. He was booked and busy. And when he came, it was just so vile the way because I was just like, that thing is a living thing. Like, why are we killing it? And one of my neighbors who's also a farmer, he said, you know, when you see the moles, they're even signaling to you that whatever you're growing under is probably ready. And so I said, wow, we look at them as pests, but like they're because again, I told you I didn't know when my potatoes were ready. If I just saw a mole, you know, like they leave the hips of sand when they're doing their thing under. If I saw many of them, I'd be like, let's check on these carrots. Let's check on these. Because again, I plant so much, I can let them have a bit. You know what I mean? It's not like I would get it if it's like a commercial farm, right? And so it's just made me really be like, I don't want to be a destructive human anymore. I really want to try as much as possible to like live besides nature and just remember like, as much as these things are not, sorry, like this might not be, because I'm a bit of a hippie, but as much as these things don't speak the way we speak, they don't look like humans, doesn't mean they're not living things. And that goes for the pests, it goes for the plants in my house, it goes for my vegetables in the farm.
Yeah, so there's the empathy part of like...
It's so high now. It's so high now. Like there are points where I'm just like, Adele, stop it. Like these are ants. They're going to bite you.
That's the beauty about nature. So it shows you like there's different stages. Like if it's for chaos, you're going to wait 3 months, maize, like 4 months. So like there are different stages that you have to wait. Like you have to be patient. Everything's gonna come.
I'm actually learning. Like my gardener James, I'm constantly like, is this malenge? You're sure he already is like Adele? Give it 2 months because I'm already ready to be like cooking. And obviously the excitement because I'm planting things that I've never seen grow before. So I'm just like, "Iko tayari."
You've mentioned carrots quite a bit. Is it your favorite thing to grow?
Yeah. Carrots. I love carrots. I love potatoes. I find them very easy. I find broccoli and cauliflower so easy to grow. And I just wonder why. Is it that people don't like them? But like, they're just so easy. Like, they're not demanding. And then even like in the hot season, because I've grown them in the hot season. Right now I'm growing them in the cold season to see the differences. In the hot season, when it's too hot, they even use their leaves to shade themselves. I'm like, I love independent people like you. Not these ones who are telling me frostbite, you know. And so carrots are my favorite, but potatoes, what's it called? Cauliflower, broccoli, and maize. I love maize, and I love that once you've harvested, you can give it to the cows to eat. Like nothing goes to waste. And then the cows help you with manure afterwards. I kind of like that. What else have I grown? Oh, mint. Because it just grows like a weed. You don't need to do a damn thing. Like, it just does its thing. Rosemary is also pretty. Like, my rosemary bushes are huge. And I don't cook. Like, other than my vegetables, I don't really enjoy cooking. So my rosemary is just there. Like I've tried to make rosemary oil. I've put it in tea. I've put it in the house as decoration. Yeah, so those are like my favorite. But to be honest, it's like children. Like they're all, honestly, I feel bad. When I harvest the bell peppers, I'm always like, I'm so sorry I talked so badly to you. I didn't know you were taking time. It was my first time. Everything I grow, I love. I think it's only peas that I just felt what a waste, and cabbage.
And cabbage, okay. Yeah, for the frost.
For the frost, and then I just grew too many. And like, when you have cabbage is when you realize people don't like cabbage as much as you think. Yeah. One cabbage is what? 50.
And then,
yes, exactly.
So maybe there's someone who's watching you, and maybe they are sort of motivated, and yeah, they want to get into like the gardening journey. Is there any advice you could like give to them?
I think just be curious. I feel like even when we talk about farming, we're constantly going straight to food security. I'm just like, hey, our country, where's the joy first, and like the enjoyment of it, right? So if you're starting, I would say, like, think about the enjoyment element first and the curiosity. Like, I wonder what are the stages of growing my own carrots or growing my own herbs, right? My own dania, like my own chili. Like, I'm just curious to see, how does this plant grow? Oh, it grows like this. So after 3 months, this is what happens, blah, blah, blah. And I think you can do it in anywhere you are. Because now I've been seeing like the people who are building like the vertical gardens, and I'm just like, where were you when I lived in an apartment with no grass anywhere? Like I would have really enjoyed trying this out. And yeah, so going curious and going taking your own notes, because sometimes when I share about the progress of my different vegetables on social media, I think people don't get their opinions heard in their real life. So we want to, you see someone has posted something, you're there with none has asked you for your opinion. You're there. And some may be well-meaning, but sometimes I'm just like, imagine I want to find out for myself. Like, I'm just curious. I want to see what's happening. Tomatoes didn't do well because of the cold. I was going to do garlic and ginger. It was a cold season. That old mzee told me, "Hey, sister, wait for December, January. They'll have a good." I want to find out for myself. So the person who's starting, I would say, don't listen too much. Like, going curious and just try and understand it from a, wow, this thing is growing, and then it gives me this fruit. When you understand those processes, and then you start understanding, okay, I love growing this. I have an affinity towards this. I have an affinity. After that, we can now start talking. You know, this manure is better than this because of the amount of this it has in this. We can then go further into food security. But if you take away this chapter 1, which is the playfulness and the curiosity, it's so hard for us to like pay attention to anything that comes afterwards. So if you're starting, just like be curious and go in knowing it's a healing experience. And especially if you're trying it not for like, this is an investment. No. Just like lose yourself in it. It's so healing. I never ever thought I would be in a with my nails. So many times people are like, with those nails, I'm like, I'm really in there. You can see one has broken. When you're harvesting, they break. You move on with life.
Yeah, I like the approach that you have. Like, sometimes I think people discard like the experiential knowledge that you get when you're doing it. Like, for example, like you just experienced like tomatoes don't do well during cold. Someone could have come and told you, hey, don't plant tomatoes during cold. But you'll be like, but I want to plant them.
And me, you know me, I'm very stubborn. Yeah. I'll go and try it myself, and that's when I'll learn. Yeah. I'll be like, got it, you know. And also, there's so many variables. You don't know where exactly I'm farming. You don't know what my soil is like. You don't know how. There's so much. You don't know where I got the seeds. You know, there's so much that we don't know. I think we need to just allow people to like experiment and have fun. And I really want someone to try the vertical one because I have no excuse to try it. I really thought about it and I'm like, that's a waste of money, Adele. Like, now buying that thing, why? And there's a farm there waiting for you. So I want to see, I just find it so interesting. I'm just like, oh, so how what's the watering system, you know? And so if you're in an apartment, look into those, follow those pages I follow so many of those pages on TikTok. Some of them are in the States. The ones that even show you, this is how, like now I'm experimenting with pineapples. Because I watched a TikTok where the guy, he cut off the top and then he put it in like, wet paper towel. I'm like, I'm there. So experiment and you'll start to understand more about your food, and then you can get involved more in conversations about where your food is coming from.
I like your like genuine excitement about like the farming part, because it's very rare nowadays to get somebody who is really that excited. And the fact that you are surrounded with people who have like a lot of knowledge in agriculture, I guess that one also helps you like ignite that fire and say, you know what, I like that. So yeah, that's a really, really interesting. And I think in a few years, maybe you should think about writing your experiences. I think that would be really, really interesting. So you've written a book before, so this
is the next one. And I like that there are podcasts like this because, as you've said, I'm in an environment where people have this knowledge just out, like you've grown up watching it, so they just know. It's not that they've read a book or they've gone for a TED talk or whatever. And I think as Africans, like that knowledge, we need to pass it down. And so we need to really document it, like indigenous farming knowledge, like, right? So even me going to see that old man who's known, like, you know what I mean? Like, these are people we need to sit with and be like, hey, what do you know? Yeah. And so I love that you have a podcast like this because it allows us to start storing all of this knowledge that we have. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So I usually do something called rapid fire, where like I've prepared 10 questions for you. So the goal is to get a little bit more info about you, so just in case it didn't come through the podcast. And I guess this should be fun. Ready for the questions?
Yes.
So the first one is, What did you say you wanted to be when you grow up?
Oh, I've always known I wanted to be a journalist.
The second question, if your garden could whisper one lesson, what will it say?
Please be more patient. Damn it.
Third question, who is one woman, past or present, you love to have dinner with?
Wangari Maathai.
Fourth, what's one mindset shift that changed your life in your 20s?
Can I change it to in my 30s? Because my 20s were just the ghetto. I think in my 30s is understanding that everything that I was seeking for outside of me, I already had within me. And that realization has just made me so much calmer. In my 20s, I was just like a mad woman.
Fifth question, what's one thing about healing people completely misunderstand?
That healing is not fixing what's broken. It's bringing you back home to you. Because you go through all of these experiences that take you away from you. So healing is bringing you back. So I don't even see humans as being broken. They are just a result of traumatic experiences. So how do we bring you back to who you truly are? That's what healing is.
Sixth question, what's a book you wish everyone would read at least once?
Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm going to plug my book. Read Our Broken Silence by myself and Lanji Aworioko.
Where is one place you like to go that you haven't been yet?
Jamaica. I really want to go to Jamaica, guys. Like, I'm very serious. And to do nothing constructive. So I'm just there for a good time. I was thinking about it. I was like, where would you go to when you turn 40? And I was like, I actually would love to go to Jamaica just to experience it.
From what we've been showing, it looks like a fun place. Ninth question, what quote resonates with you most?
Oh, there's this quote by Desmond Tutu. It says, my humanity is bound up in yours because we can only be humans together. Something like that. I think I read that quote when I was a teenager and I've never left it.
Last question, if you could send a voice note to your 18-year-old self, what would you say?
Stop trying to fit in. Can I curse? Fuck them. Be you.
That's pretty good advice, I guess. But yeah, so those are 10 questions. Thank you very much for creating time for the podcast. Really appreciate it. I'm sure guys who will be watching it will find it really insightful from your gardening story. So thank you for the time.
Thanks for having me. This was so fun. Like, I will never forget this as like my first farming interview. So thank you for reaching out.
Nice. So I guess they can follow Legally Clueless.
Yes. So if you go to Legally Clueless Africa, either .com if you're more of a website person, or on TikTok or on Instagram, you can find all of our shows, all our events, all of the group therapy that we do, and you can plug in.
Yeah, thank you. So till the next podcast, remember to be organic. Cheers.